Well, good morning, guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good morning. It's Thursday, guys. The days are going by so fast. May I tell you, say it is unbelievable how fast the days are going. The days not waiting on nobody, You understand? The days just moving fast. I tell you. But anyway, we're gonna try keep up. We are going to try to keep up because keeping up, AG, keeping up is what we do. Jesus have mercy. You said if my light source get interrupted. I'm gonna feel like to get up in the AG. I don't feel like to get up. I don't feel like it. I hope that this 33% lasts me at least an hour. I hope. You don't think it will last me? I don't know. But I hope. I have only 33% on my phone, and I'm hoping that it lasts me until I'm finished reading Ezekiel chapters 45 and 46 amidst my gabbing. You know what I mean, AG? Oh, but anyway, it's Thursday morning, and we're gonna do what we do over here first thing in the morning. For those of you who are just coming, welcome into the live. I sincerely appreciate you all. This is Trev from Trevessence, and each morning I come here on my own accord. I come here each morning on my own accord to read this Bible here. Yeah. That's why I come here every morning. I come to read it. I've decided to read it openly so that I can include my followers in what I'm doing. I don't come here to convince anybody to accept any religious conviction or otherwise. Okay? I appreciate the input from people. I always love to learn, and it no matter at this point, our views may not be the same, or they may be. But regardless of whether or not our views are the same, I remain respectful to everybody's view. Everybody have their view, everybody have their conviction. I don't intend to change anybody's conviction. However, I don't appreciate people trying to run upon me. Don't do that. Please, don't do that. Don't run upon me with your hell and your condemnation. Keep that to yourself. I don't want to hear it. I don't want nobody come and tell me about, oh yeah, go to hell. You have the audacity for a question the Bible. Like, are y'all kidding me? Are you kidding me? Don't do that again. Okay? Don't do it. And don't make me rude to you. I'm not gonna say it out loud. I'm not call your name, but don't make me rude to you. You understand me? Alright. You were socialized and I was socialized to claim that we believe what is in the Bible, though we had never read it. It was handed down to us from our parents, pastors, and others. We don't read it for ourselves, so we don't know what's in it. I have chosen to read it for myself from beginning to end. Yes, because I want to know what is in this book that they say I must follow? Because all my life growing up, I born in the church, grew up in the church, baptized in the church, all those things. The only thing I never get in the church was christened. I wasn't christened in the church because even though my parents were members of the church, young people them who go around about go do they do wherever they go do they do, and get me, the church tell them so they can't christen me there because them never married. But understand me? So that's the only thing me not get in the church. And my parents them still staying at the church. Still chain at the church. Me da gone like me da run gone like what? You understand? And when my mom shared that with me, I was like, what? The church never christen me. You understand? The church deny me, reject an innocent child because them claim say, the Bible say, if you're not married when you have pitney, the pitney them not supposed to be Christian at the church. I mean, I read the Bible from it, and I don't see that all now. I don't see that all now. You understand? Because even the children of the wives and concubines of the people that the Bible were not given no different treatment. You understand? But anyway, I have chosen to read it, and I have chosen to share that journey with you. Do I appreciate opposing opinions? Absolutely. And I appreciate people. I must say, somebody was over here yesterday named Watchman. I think I did one man, but I want a woman. Sorry, Watchman, for call you man. Sorry, your name. Let me call you so. I'm sorry. But somebody was over here yesterday named the Watchman. Yeah, that person sent me a message. I appreciate it. I thank you. Because y'all remember, those of you who have been here with me, y'all remember that I have been searching to find out who is the Queen of Heaven. Because remember, that has come up in the readings several times. Where, what David, bless up your nice clean self. What's up? What you doing? David's a brick lady arrested. What the brick lady? What the brick lady, David? Oh, that's okay. Yes, so in the Bible, there was mention of the Queen of Heaven. And I was talking about like, who is the Queen of Heaven? Clearly, from the context of the Bible, it is some other deity that the Jewish people found to be more comforting for them, and so they had started to worship that Queen of Heaven. And so I was talking about it, but Watchman texted me. Somebody else had texted me about a Queen of Heaven, but guess what? They're two different things. One person texted me a name for a Queen of Heaven. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna forget it. I'll remember it and talk about it some other time. But Watchman texted me yesterday and said there was a Queen of Heaven called Ishtar, another Queen of Heaven. So we're gonna see which is. We will never know which is which, because like in other cultures, they worship different heavenly bodies and stuff. So from the context of the Bible, the Queen of Heaven was some other deity that the Jewish people felt comfortable worshiping, because what are you talking about, David? Wow, why is that? Jewish is what? Hold on, David. David. Okay. All right. All right. So blessed Thursday morning to you, David. Blessed Thursday morning to you. Blessed Thursday morning to you, my love. I mean, it is just not good to just repeat stuff, you know. That is why I have taken on this challenge to read the Bible for myself. You understand? What do you mean by Jewish is pagan? No, well, anyway, we are reading. I don't know, so that phone you're not gonna last with 30%. I use the same way now. I mean, I didn't know we are near the charger, but may I use it anyway. But anywho, I thank you for that, Watchman. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that contribution, because I love when people, you know, add. I consider everything to be valuable. Add something for me, because remember, I don't know me, I don't know anything. I have tried to abandon all that I have been taught, all that I have been doctrinated to believe to be true, and all that I have been socialized. It's kind of hard, but I have tried. And all I am doing here is trying to read the Bible for myself and sharing my journey, my experience of reading the Bible with the rest of the world. I don't know nothing. Okay? So if you hear me say something and it sounds contrary to something that you believe or something that you know or claim to be true, you can respectfully say it, and I will go look it up for myself. You know, I do not mind that at all. Not at all, because I'm learning and sharing my learning experience. Okay? That's all it is. Okay? Many things I have learned from reading the Bible. Number one, y'all know that I never stopped. I had not before me starting to do this. I had stopped to evaluate. The farm, bless up yourself, sister. What are you doing? Amarel. I had not stopped to evaluate the contents of the Bible, and that comes with me not having read it. That the Bible, all the books in the Bible were written by a Jew. Every single book in the Bible was written by a Jew. This is a compilation of ancient Jewish writing. That's what the Bible is. A compilation of ancient Jewish writing. Okay? These writings were later sorted out and selected to be put in this compilation. Not all Jewish writings were put in the compilation that we now know as the Bible. They were selective in which ones went in and which ones were left out. Now, some of the ones that were left out were mere repetitions. Mary and I grew up, lived around the same time. We had the same priest. We had the same prophet. We lived and worked in close proximity to each other. Mary is writing, I am writing. David is writing, Bolt is writing. We are at the same place. most of the things that we have written are similar. We talk about the same priest, the same prophet, the same occurrences, the same politics, the same everything. So rather than duplicating and putting mine and David's and Paul's and Mary's in the Bible, they select and they say, okay, we are just going to put David's version in the book. Okay? So the Bible is not some book that, was sent down from heaven and, people were inspired by God to write it. It's ancient Jewish writings. Okay? Whether you like to hear it or you don't like to hear it, that right there is the truth. The Bible. The writings of the Bible are ancient Jewish writings. Hands down on that, end of story. So make us continue. We're going to read Ezekiel chapter 45 and 46. In yesterday's reading, recapping yesterday's reading did not have much to unpack yesterday, because yesterday Ezekiel continued to talk about the dimensions of the sanctuary that he said God had shown him in his dream. Remember, at this time Ezekiel is in Babylon. He's in Babylon, where he's being held captive by Nebuchadnezzar. And he claims to have gotten a vision from God, and God is showing him what the dimensions should be for the sanctuary that was going to be built in Jerusalem, in Israel. Because remember, by this time Israel had been broken down. The quote-unquote enemies had taken over. The people were slaughtered. Some of them ran away to different countries. Others were taken captive into Babylon. And so Nehemiah was among those taken captive in Babylon. And as he is relaying these dimensions that God has given him, he went on to talk about the Levites. How the Levites were going to be responsible for the church and responsible for the sacrifices and all of that. For you to be responsible of those responsibilities, you would have to be a descendant of Jacob's son that was called Levi. So he also talked about God showing him in this same vision what kind of clothes the priests, those who were appointed priests, what kind of clothes they should wear. And he went on to say they should wear clothes made out of linen, and even the cloth that they used to wrap their loin, that loin cloth, there were their breeches. Yesterday was the first time I realized that the word breeches in 44 and verse 18. That's where I found the word breeches. I thought breeches was just a southern word for underwear, but in fact it came out of the Bible. It does mean underwear, but it came out of the Bible. Okay, so their breeches also were supposed to be made out of linen, because it shouldn't be made out of any fabric that is going to cause them to sweat. The robes also were supposed to be made out of linen. But if you all remember when we were reading in Exodus, Leviticus, when Moses was telling the children of Israel what God was telling him. Remember, he claimed God told him how they should live, what they should wear, what they should do. It's like he covered every aspect of their life. He covered with laws and ordinances and precepts and commandments and stuff. So many So many that the people couldn't keep up. It was so many. So much so that even when we had read the book of Job, Job made sacrifices for sins not yet committed. Why? Because that's all their lives were. That's all their lives entailed. Was sin and sacrifice, sin and sacrifice, sin and sacrifice. You did something against what Moses said you were to do, you had to make a sacrifice. You said something you weren't supposed to say, you have to make a sacrifice. All day long, the people started looking around them and seeing the other people who were living around them, the people who they called infidels, who they called heathens. And they started looking around and seeing that those people seemed like their lives was better than theirs, because they did not have all these burdens to bear. They did not have all these sacrifices day and night. All the people lived for day and night was sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. And Job was so convinced of this sacrifice, of this sin and sacrifice, that Job even made sacrifices for his children in the event that they sinned, because he knew they were definitely going to sin. So every day he made sacrifices. That was one thing that I believe sent the children of Israel to worship the gods of the heathen. You know, the gods they make out of stone, the gods they make out of wood. Yeah. That's what I believe sent them to go worship those gods, because those people seemed as though they were flourishing and prospering and living well. Complete contrast to what the Jewish people were experiencing, especially after they had crossed the River Jordan into Jericho, and after Israel was established by King David. Yeah, they realized that the people around them are sort of living well. And for them, it was sin, sacrifice, and death. But anywho, we're going to continue. You can get your book Bible or your Google Bible and travel along if you so desire. Yeah, so that you can make notes in your book Bible or Google Bible and say, say this. Yeah, we need to look up this some more or so. Yeah. You're a theologian. So therefore, yeah, we're just reading and trying to understand it for ourselves. All right? And I do not, let me just let you know this, I do not. People say, oh, why you not pray before? If you want to pray, go ahead. I do not endorse any religion or denomination. Okay? I'm reading this book. Just like come here and read all the other book them. Yeah. I read this one because we need to know what's in it. Ezekiel chapter 45. Moreover, when he shall divide by lot the land for inheritance, he shall offer an oblation unto the Lord, a holy portion of the land. The length shall be the length of 5 and 20,000 reeds. That's 25,000 reeds. And the breadth shall be 10,000 reeds. This shall be holy in all the borders thereof round about. Of this there shall be for this sanctuary 500 in length, with 500 in breadth, square round about, and 50 cubits round about for the suburbs thereof. And of this measure shalt thou measure the length of 25,000, and the breadth of 10,000, and in it shall be the sanctuary and the most holy place. The whole portion of the land shall be for the priests, the ministers of the sanctuary, which shall come near to minister unto the Lord, and it shall be a place for their houses, and a holy place for the sanctuary. And the 25,000 of length, and the 10,000 of breadth, shall also the Levites, the ministers of the house, have for themselves, for a possession for 20 chambers. And he shall appoint the possession of the city, 5,000 reed, and 25,000. Verse 6 says, and he shall appoint the possession of the city, 5,000 reed broad, and 25,000 reed long, over against the oblation of the holy portion. It shall be for the whole house of Israel. And the portion shall be for the prince on one side, and on the other side of the oblation of the holy portion, and of the possession of the city before the oblation of the holy portion, and before the possession of the city from the west side westward, and from the east side eastward. And the length shall be over against one of the portions, from the west portion unto the east border. In the land shall be his possession in Israel, and my princes shall no more oppress my people. And the rest of the land shall they give to the house of Israel according to their tribes. Thus saith the Lord God, let it suffice you, O princes of Israel, remove violence and spoil, and execute judgment and justice. Take away your exactions from my people, saith the Lord God. Okay. Alright. Let us continue. Verse 10. He shall have just balances, and a just ephah, and a just bath. The ephah and the bath shall be of one measure, that the bath may contain 1/10 part of a homer, and the ephah the 10th part of an omer. The measure thereof shall be after the omer. And the shekel shall be 20 dirhams, 20 shekels, 25 shekels, 15 shekels shall be your money. This is the oblation that he shall offer, the 6th part of an ephah of an omer of wheat, and he shall give the 6th part of an ephah of an omer of barley. Concerning the ordinance of oil, the bath of oil, he shall offer the 10th part of a bath out of the core, which is an omer of 10 baths, for 10 baths are an omer. Verse 15. And 1 lamb out of the flock, out of 200, out of the fat pastures of Israel, for a meat offering, and for a burnt offering, and for peace offerings, to make reconciliation for them, saith the Lord God. All the people of the land shall give this oblation for the prince in Israel, and it shall be the prince's part to give burnt offerings, and meat offerings, and drink offerings in the feasts, and in the new moons, and in the Sabbaths, in all solemnities of the house of Israel. He shall prepare the sin offering, and the meat offering, and the burnt offering and the peace offering to make reconciliation for the home of Israel. So here Ezekiel is in this vision. Ezekiel isn't really seeing anything new. Weren't these the same measurements, the same sacrifices that Moses claimed to have been instructed about? So I think at this point, with Jerusalem and Israel, it being as dismantled as it is, Ezekiel is trying to reestablish Israel with these. They're not new laws. These are not new laws. But you know that their laws carried more weight when they said, oh, they got a vision. God came to them in their dream. It bears more weight because the people believe them more. So if he says to them, you know what, we are going to reestablish Israel, we're going to reestablish our community, and we are going to continue to use the dimensions of the temple that Moses had established, or that David had established. We're going to continue to use it. It might sound like, oh, he is riding on somebody else's coattail. He does not have his own instructions from God. So here he is coming up with what he's considering to be his own instructions from God. Because what you're going to understand, all these hundreds and hundreds of prophets, and all of them come with different instructions from the same God. It makes me wonder, isn't it fair to believe that many of them are lying? Because if the God that I was socialized to believe is the God that doesn't change and keeps his word, etc., there would be no way that he would tell different prophets give different prophets different instructions pertaining to the same situations. That has caused so much conflict. And that is why I said, no wonder the children of Israel ran away. It was not because of, I'm going to say it's not because of their gods, it's because of their prophets. The prophets were liars, many of them. How are we going to know which one was telling the truth and which one was not? You got to examine their behaviors. Jeremiah, for example, I go back to Jeremiah all the time. I know people say, Trev, you always defend Jeremiah. Yes, I go back to Jeremiah all the time. Because when you read the book of Jeremiah and you realize that Jeremiah could not have been speaking the truth, could not have been. In the beginning of his writings, he talked about God telling him that Moses and Samuel came in front of him and petitioned him on behalf of the Jewish people. And he don't want to hear anything from them pertaining to the Jewish people because his wrath, his anger, and his fury can't be quenched. He's gotta let it out on these people. And I don't believe no God told that to Jeremiah. No. I don't believe he had that conversation with God. That I don't believe to have been true. And he said God was warning him not to petition for the Jewish people, or else he was going to destroy him. Like, are you kidding me? And then we saw where Jeremiah preached nothing good for his people. Death and destruction the whole way. The whole way. And that was why the people had nothing to do with him. People say, oh, it's because Jeremiah was such a good prophet and the people were so wicked, that's why they turned against Jeremiah. No, it was not. And you got to read Jeremiah's own writing to understand. The people didn't turn against him because of that. The people said he preached nothing but death and destruction. When he claimed that God was talking to him and God was telling him stuff, and whatever God was telling him, he was telling Baruch to write it on the scroll. But he never told us what it was. He never told us what God had said. He said God spoke to him. As God was talking to him, he was telling Baruch what God was saying, and Baruch was writing it on the scroll. He sent Baruch to read it in the temple. When Baruch read it in the temple, the people took it to the king. King Josaphat read it, and he said, why, Jeremiah? Why you always? Why the only thing God tell you for us, the Jewish people, is death and destruction? God never tell you nothing good at all to tell us? We don't want to hear nothing at all from you. And that's why them catch him and fling him in the dungeon. Because they were like, we don't want to hear nothing from you no more. Because you see, the people look to their prophets for guidance. They consider their prophets to be close to God. Once you declare yourself to be a prophet, the people respected you and revered you. And whatever you told them, they believed. Just like after Solomon died and Solomon gave the kingdom to his son Rehoboam. Rehoboam, young people them, but they still were taught to respect the opinions of the prophets because they believed wholeheartedly that these opinions came directly from God, that God was really talking to the prophets. And the wicked Shemaiah, when the enemies come up to destroy Israel, and the king, Rehoboam, would go to him and say, ask God if it is time for us to go fight. Should we go fight the enemies coming up to steal our land and kill us off? What Shemaiah tell them? Oh, him talk to God, and God say no. And God say no, they must fight. Mixing with the Moffat, bless up the nice clean self. What's up? But this year from here start, Moffat. Happy New Year, my love. You understand? So when Jordan, I remember, I forget your birthday coming up in a Jordan. Happy Thursday morning to you, my love. Yeah, so the people respected their prophets. And when Jeroboam would consult Shemaiah and say, ask God if we need to go fight the army of Jeroboam, Shemaiah come back and tell Rehoboam, say, God say they mustn't go fight. Say, no, you mustn't go fight. No fight them. Poor Rehoboam, he so believed in Shemaiah. He sent back his 85,000 warriors to go on back on a tent because God say we mustn't fight. And all that time, Jeroboam was their enemy. And the people started going to follow Jeroboam. And so Jeroboam's army grew and grew and grew. And he kept on attacking Israel and stealing the land and destroying, slaying And Rehoboam sat there like a sitting duck, consulting Shemaiah all the time and listening to what Shemaiah saying. The Israel wasn't destroyed so much so by the enemy, but more so by their own prophets, making up stories and telling lies. The one Jeremiah, he claimed to prophesy that Nebuchadnezzar was coming up to destroy. Billy Bantan, bless up yourself. How you doing, my love? Happy Thursday morning to you. Now, Jeremiah claimed that God told him that Nebuchadnezzar was coming up to destroy Israel. Him say prophesy, him did a prophesy, you know. Jeremiah wasn't prophesying nothing. What Jeremiah was doing was working with Nebuchadnezzar undercover to destroy Israel. But he knew he had to do that undercover. Him after hide him couldn't make the Jewish people them know, because remember, they already didn't trust him. They had already banned him from coming back in a them temple, because he never come with no good news from God. Always death, always destruction. You understand? So the people banned him from coming in a them temple. So then him tell them, say Nebuchadnezzar is going to come up. God said Nebuchadnezzar going to come up. Then him go behind them back, him work undercover with Nebuchadnezzar. For Nebuchadnezzar come destroy them. So that he can take the accolades and say, yes, you see? But he telling him, say Nebuchadnezzar was coming, you know. But he tell him, say, I come destroy, you know. See it now? You never did believe me, but see it now. But when you look at it, after the destruction, Nebuchadnezzar gave him a lot of gifts. Why Nebuchadnezzar would have gave him gifts? And that's enough for asking yourself. Why did Nebuchadnezzar give Jeremiah a whole lot of gifts after Nebuchadnezzar destroyed Israel? And why did Nebuchadnezzar instruct the governor that he had appointed over Israel to give Jeremiah any land he wants, give him protection, don't make nobody hurt him, and take care of him? Unless there had been something in Jeremiah for Nebuchadnezzar. We know them Nebuchadnezzar no kind like that. We know him not gonna just get up and just give somebody something for nothing, so. So right there, so we know him take everybody else, him carry them captive, him slay everybody else, but he went out of his way to protect Jeremiah, because Jeremiah was working for him. Anywho, let us continue with Ezekiel, because even in reading Ezekiel, I got to go back to Jeremiah. But let us continue. Ezekiel 45 and verse 18. Thus saith the Lord God, in the first month, in the first day of the month, thou shalt take a young bullock without blemish, and cleanse the sanctuary. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering, and put it upon the post of the house, and upon the four corners of the settle of the altar, and upon the posts of the gates of the inner court. And so thou shalt do the 7th day of the month for everyone that errs. And to err is to do something wrong. And for him that is simple, so shall he reconcile the house. In the first month, in the 14th day of the month, ye shall have the Passover, a feast of 7 days. Unleavened bread shall be eaten. And upon that day shall the prince prepare for himself and for all the people of the land a bullock for a sin offering. And 7 days of the peace he shall prepare a burnt offering to the Lord. 7 bullocks and 7 rams without blemish, daily the 7 days. And a kid of the goats daily for a sin offering. And he shall prepare a meat offering of an ephah for a bullock, and an ephah for a ram, and a hin of oil for an ephah. Verse 25, and this is the last verse of Ezekiel, chapter 25 and verse 25. In the 7th month, in the 15th day of the month, shall he do the like in the feast of the 7 days, according to the sin offering, according to the burnt offering, and according to the meat offering, and according to the oil. All right, that is the end of Ezekiel chapter 45. All right, so here Ezekiel continues to talk about the instructions that he claims to have been given by God about what should happen in this new temple, this new sanctuary that they are planning to rebuild in Israel. Chapter 40. Thus said the Lord God, the gate of the inner court that looks towards the east shall be shut the 6 working days. But on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened. And the prince shall enter by the way of the porch of that gate without, and shall stand by the post of the gate. And the priest shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offerings, and he shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then he shall go forth, but the gate shall not be shut until the evening. Likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the door of this gate before the Lord in the Sabbaths and in the new moons. And the burnt offering that the prince shall offer unto the Lord in the Sabbath day shall be 6 lambs without blemish, and a ram without blemish. Verse 5, and the meat offering shall be an ephah for a ram, and the meat offering for the lambs as he shall be able to give, and a hin of oil to an ephah. And in the day of the new moon it shall be a young bullock without blemish, and 6 lambs, and a ram, they shall be without blemish. And he shall prepare a meat offering, an ephah for a bullock, and an ephah for a ram, and for the lambs according as his hand shall attain unto, and a hin of oil to an ephah. And when the prince shall enter, he shall go in by the way of the porch of that gate, and he shall go forth by the way thereof. But when the people of the land shall come before the Lord in the solemn feast, he that entereth in by the way of the north gate to worship shall go out by the way of the south gate, and he that enters by the way of the south gate shall go forth by the way of the north gate. He shall not return by the way of the gate whereby he had come in, but shall go forth over against it. And the prince in the midst of them. God, good morning. How are you doing? Morning, Agnes. And the prince in the midst of them, when they go in, shall go in, and when they go forth, he shall go forth. And in the feasts and in the solemnities The meat offering shall be an ephah to a bullock, and an ephah to a ram, and to the lambs as he is able to give, and a hin of oil to an ephah. Now when the prince shall prepare a voluntary burnt offering or peace offering voluntarily unto the Lord, one shall then open him the gate that looks towards the east, and he shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offering as he did on the Sabbath day. Then he shall go forth, and after his going forth, one shall shut the gate. Thou shalt daily prepare a burnt offering unto the Lord of a lamb of the first year without blemish. Thou shalt prepare it every morning. And thou shalt prepare a meat offering for it every morning, the 6th part of an ephah, and the 3rd part of a hin of oil, to temper with the fine flour, a meat offering continually by a perpetual ordinance unto the Lord. Verse 15. Thus shall they prepare the lamb, and the meat offering, and the oil, every morning for a continual burnt offering. Guys, this that I'm reading here, I'm not, well, there wouldn't be much religious value of this for me, I would say. This is Ezekiel, writing what he says God is telling him about how when the new temple is established, how it is going to be run, the sacrifices, and how the people are going to enter. If you enter from the east, you got to go back out through the west. If you enter through the north, you got to go back out through the south. Yeah, and that sort of thing. So I don't know about you. Does it sound quite inspirational to y'all? For those of you who tell me that the Bible is written by men inspired by God, this sounds like some kind of inspiration for you? Okay, just checking. Good morning, Kat. Morning, Kat. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Blessings. Blessings. Let us continue. Verse 16. Thus saith the Lord, if the prince give a gift unto any of his sons, the inheritance thereof shall be his sons. It shall be their possession by inheritance. But if he give a gift of his inheritance to one of his servants, then it shall be his to the year of liberty. After it shall return to the prince. But his inheritance shall be his sons for them. The nearer. So why if him give it to the servant, it must come back to his sons? What kind of knot is this? Let me read that again. You notice that when they want to make themselves more believable, they say, God tell them, thus saith the Lord. Let's read this again. Ezekiel says in verse 17 of chapter 56. Well, let's read verse 16. He says, thus saith the Lord, if the prince give a gift unto any of his sons, the inheritance of that gift shall be his sons. That means the son give it to his sons, right? It shall be their possession by inheritance. But if he give a gift of his inheritance to one of his servants, then it shall be his to the year of liberty. Afterwards, it shall return to the prince, but his inheritance shall be his sons for them. Which year did they call the year? Jesus, all this one holiday. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let us continue. The year of liberty. Was that 25 years? Oh, who sent me this voice message? Hold on, the people. Let me see. The year of liberty. Let's see. The year of liberty. All right. The phone is dying. The year of liberty. How many years? No available. How many years is considered the year of liberty? Okay, me not see it. All right, me not see it. So I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna have to look it up. But anywho, let us continue. Verse 18. Moreover, the prince shall not take of the people's inheritance by oppression, to thrust them out of their possession, but he shall give his son's inheritance out of his own possession, that my people be not scattered, every man from his possession. After he brought me through the entry, which was at the side of the gate, into the holy chambers of the priests, which looked towards the north, and behold, there was a place on the two sides, westward. Then he said unto me, This is the place where the priests shall boil the trespass offering and the sin offering, where they shall bake the meat offering, that they bear them not out into the outer court to sanctify the people. Then he brought me forth into the outer court, and caused me to pass by the four corners of the court. And behold, in every corner of the court there was a court. In the four corners of the court there were courts joined of 40 cubits long and 30 cubits wide. These four corners were of one measure. And there was a row of building round about in them. Round about them were four, and it was made with boiling places under the rows round about. Verse 24, and this is the last verse of chapter 56 of chapter 46 of the book of Ezekiel. Then he said unto me, These are the places of them that boil, where the ministers of the house shall boil the sacrifice of the people. Okay, not too much to unpack where this morning's reading is concerned. Ezekiel continues to document what he claims to be seeing in his vision, what his God is telling him about the rebuilding of the temple, how it was supposed to be. So he's sort of envisioning what it is going to look like, what the temple is going to look like under the courtyards. And so God is showing him where the priests are going to live and where the Levites are going to live and where they're going to do the sacrifices for the burnt offerings and the measure of oil that's going to be used to sacrifice a lamb, different from what's going to be used to sacrifice a lamb, a ram, and a bullock, and all of that. But it's basically the same kind of traditional activities that we have seen being associated with the Jewish people coming down from the time of Moses. So this ain't nothing new. It's just new at this point to these people because they didn't live in the time of Moses. But it's the same tradition that has been passed down to them. The burnt offering, the daily burnt offering, picking out the animal that is young and unblemished, using it for offering, and the meat offering and the sin offering and the trespass offering and all these offerings. Because it wasn't just the Ten Commandments. It wasn't just the Ten Commandments that the children of Israel were compelled to live by. There were hundreds of ordinances that they were expected to live by. And if they did not, they were expected to make sacrifices of atonement for their sins. So all day long, they were burning, roasting animals. All day long. That's all they did all day long was roasting animals all day long as an atonement for their sins. And these are some of the reasons why, in my opinion, they went astray. Because they were like, we can't bother with this. Who are bother with this? Get up every day, I have to go find one animal to carry God the temple to go roast. To pardon me of the transgression. No, I can't bother with that. Can you imagine if you had to find an animal every day to take to the temple as an atonement for your sin? How long would it take you before you would get tired? How long would it take you before you would get fed up? So that's exactly what was happening to the children of Israel. They got tired and got fed up, and that's why a lot of them started to run away, to go live and dwell amongst the other people, because they were seeing their community more. A lot of them, I believe, were seeing their community more like a cult. Cults always have these outlandish expectations of its members. Yeah. So I think the Jewish people were now seeing their community as more like a cult. Like, we can't keep up with this. All this animal sacrificing morning, noon, and night. So they started to drift away from their tradition. They started to move away and go to different countries. They started to abandon their religion, and you probably would have abandoned it too if that was what was presented to you. All right, so that is where we're going to end the reading for this morning. I want to say thanks to everybody who came into the live. I sincerely appreciate you all for coming in, and for spending a little bit of time with me on this Thursday morning. When we come back tomorrow morning, we will continue with the reading of the book of Ezekiel. Yes, on this journey here that I'm on, trying to read the Bible from beginning to end. This journey has taken me, has opened my eyes and taken me into some thoughtful realms that I never expected to be in, that I did not foresee. But we are moving right along. We're moving right along. We are about 3/4 way through the Bible. So we have the rest of this year to finish reading the Bible. After me finish reading it, me I go read it again. Yeah. After me finish reading it this time, I'm going to read it again. Because I don't think there's another book more fascinating and more interesting than the Bible. People say, oh, you gotta pray before you read the Bible so you can understand it. Or when you pray 100 times, if you just grab a verse here and grab a verse there, you're not gonna understand it. And even when you read the whole chapter, you still come out with a lot of questions. Because one thing that I have noticed is how these people, remember the writings are Jewish writings, but especially Ezekiel. In reading Ezekiel, you see how Ezekiel has painted his God to be this cruel, this violent God whose anger can only be quenched with blood, with death and destruction. If you notice when he talks about God he used the word anger, fury, wrath to pour out on the people. And these are the same people who are considered, who he says are his people. According, if we should believe what the prophets say, that God told them that the Jewish people are his people, that he's going to make powerful and wealthy and rich and influential and all these things. Yet, when his wrath come out on them, there's no grace. There's no forgiveness. All that's in it is death and destruction. That has left me with a lot of questions. But anywho, that's where we are going to end this morning's reading. When we come back tomorrow, we will continue reading about more of what Ezekiel saw in his vision. All right? That's going to be it for me for this morning, my friends. Until the next time, this is Trev from Trevessence, where your journey matters. Have yourselves a great day, guys. And don't forget to love each other and be kind. Okay? I will see you all later. Have a good day, guys. Miss Card. Miss Card. Oh my, me a yawn.